So it is actually a little bit further past sunrise than I thought. I've been a sleepy bear today. Anyway, so today's episode or video is about how a forest regenerates after a fire. So this one's a bit topical in Australia at the moment. Topical? Yeah. I was thinking like topical cream or something. But anyway, topical. It's very on point at the moment. Because a large amount of Australia's bushland is burning at the moment and people are all pointing fingers and all this sort of crap, and that just distracts away from solution mentality, you know, is whatever. But I was talking with some people the other day and they're saying, oh, you know, everyone's all about, oh, it's the worst fires, it's the worst, all this crap. It's like, well, first of all, if you actually look at historical documents, statistically it's not even close to the worst fire. There's been at least 10 on record that are far worse than this one that's currently happening. It's just that today we have the best record keeping, so it appears worse than it is. Someone was saying, oh, 20% of the Blue Mountains is burnt out. Oh, what a travesty. Oh, it's so terrible. Everything's horrible. I said, well, there's actually a lot of benefit to this fire, and I'm going to show you a lot of it right now. Now, my dad's property here that we live on, lucky me, was burnt out 2 years ago on Christmas Day. And it was charred. The whole landscape was charred. It was all over the news. It was crazy. All those big Boeing 737s dropping red dust about, 50 metres above your head. Crazy stuff. And you end up with a lot of trees down, like this stuff here. Okay, so this is, there's a eucalypt here. There's a whole bunch of casuarinas. There's a few wattles. I can tell by the bark. Right, and that's not a terrible thing, because the casuarina is only going to live for about 10-20 years anyway. It's not got a huge life expectancy, and it wants to set its seed really quick. It's a pioneer species. The wattle as well. After a certain amount of years, it loses its vitality, and it needs fire to activate its seeds and regenerate new life. The eucalyptus also requires fire, but not so much in the sense of to burn its seeds to activate them, but to cause charcoal in the ground to then be what you call smoke water. So when you germinate a lot of different seeds, in botanic gardens they'll tell you this too, in Australian varieties, and especially areas where you get a very, very hot and fire-prone climate, like Mediterranean climates often are, you need smoke, or you need to put charcoal in water so that the carbon and all the other bits of smoke byproducts can then soak into that water to then soak into that seed. It just activates the seed, right? Now, this is also habitat now, okay? So little animals like quails, they tend to sort of live in all the shadowy spaces. They live under lantana, they live under bushes, they live under things, right? So this is perfect for them. This is also perfect spots for a lizard to come in here, and he shades himself during the day, and a predator bird can't quite get to him. So this is all creating habitat. Now, with the lack of canopy that we have, okay, this is going to create a lot of light filtering down to the lower area. And that's perfect for things like grasses. And as you can see over here, we've got a large amount of grasses. Now, all of this here is actually a number of different grasses. That's not just one type. That's actually 3 different types of lamandra, right? That's the mat rush. There's one type of razor grass, which is just a bit further off there, I believe. Right? Razor grass there. Right? We've got a whole lot of different stuff growing here. Now, just at my feet here, we've got another one. Another little species. Now, this one I think is some sort of like a tea tree or some scented thing. When I rub the leaves, it smells really pretty. And that's growing back too. And right next to him, we've got some wattle. Alright? And if we don't have fire, the seeds of the wattle don't germinate. So when I walk through the Blue Mountains, and you all know that I teach bush tucker, if I see an area that hasn't burnt out for a long time, there's no seedlings. There's none of them. Right? The smallest tree you're going to find there is going to be at least 1 metre in height. There's going to be very few of these little fellas. So we have needed this bushfire for a very long time. Oh, but what about the animals, people say? What about the animals? Yes, animals will die. Some do die. Some slow-moving animals, but not all of them. Some of them will have burrows that were very deep. Some of them have incredible senses of smell. You don't see anything about all these kangaroos being charred, do you? Because they can smell a fire for up to 5 kilometres away. That's 5 kilometres worth of warning time they have to get to their safe spaces. And they know where the safe spaces are. If you walk on ground, barefooted, you will feel certain places are cold underfoot, and I'll guarantee there's water under there. And you can stamp your feet, just like a rabbit does, and you can find hollow spaces too. So there's a lot of different textures. Now, some tunnels of animals have tunnels within tunnels, and they'll go very deep indeed. Some of them can go up to 10 metres deep. So a lot of animals are going to survive. Unfortunately, certain animals will not survive. Again, birds, they can fly and get the hell out of there. The thing that's an issue for the bats at the moment, with 1/3 of their population dying, is the lack of produce around for them to eat, lack of flowers, right? Ironically, they're called fruit bats, but they don't predominantly eat fruit. They predominantly eat flowers and flower nectar. They lick the juices off of fruit, but they don't really eat or chew the fruit. Alrighty, I'll show you some more stuff, okay? Now, all this carbon as well, all this charcoal, it's not just charcoal, a lot of it's biochar, and that has a huge water holding capacity. So that actually reduces the likelihood of a fire in years to come. And this whole fires, repeated fires, is the process of succession by which a grassland becomes a forest, and a forest becomes a rainforest, and a rainforest becomes an old growth forest. This is a huge thing. This takes 400, 500, 600, 10,000 years sometimes. It's just a process. It's just life. Now here we have a geebung, right? This furry looking thing here. There's a lot of types of geebungs. I've counted at least 20 I know of. Some of them have red and stripies all over them, different sizes. Some of them actually have edible skin, I found out the other day. And these guys, they've shot back from the bark, right? So this bark is very much similar to paper bark. It sheds, it peels. And underneath it, there's all these little nodules. So when the whole tree burns out, it may look like death for a bit. But when the rains come through, there you go. And what else is going on in here? Okay, we've actually got behind me, up through, where was it? Up through here. I was sort of halfway building a teepee here by leaning this casuarina against another one. But this tree up here actually has a bird nest in it. And then down in front of it, there's another little one in this nest over here. I'll actually bring you closer so you can see that. And again, you've got these little lomandra grasses here. That's one type of the lomandra, okay? Here's another grass, right here. That's woolly butt, right? This is another one here. This one I call red leaf because he just gets this little red thing going on here. There's another type of wattle, okay? So it's not doom and gloom. Now, in this property already, I've seen this year, I've seen lace monitors coming like out of everywhere. Crazy amount of lace monitors. I haven't seen them since the last bushfire, right? So this is the point I'm making. This is a real burst time for lizards. Now, again, Dianella. All the filming that I do, much of it, is on this burnt out property. There is so much here. And again, I'm emphasising this point. And here's a little bird nest. There's one right there. And I've actually climbed this one. This is why I put this casuarina against here, right? Is to actually use that as a ladder to climb up to get a little bit of a better vantage point. Because up in this one, there's another little nest. And not only that, there's another one in that tree over there. This guy right here. Right in there, there's another nest too. Now, you may be thinking, oh, our houses are gone, our houses are gone. 840 homes have burnt out. Yes, that's shithouse. If you have an attachment to material possessions, that can be really shithouse, right? And here's another freaking type of grass here, right? That's like 5, 6 different types of grass. And you know what wants to eat grass? Herbivores. So you know what's come back to the property in huge abundance? Kangaroos, wallabies, deers, wombats. You know, a lot of things. We've even had black cockatoos on the property. It's crazy how much the abundance is. And again, the casuarina needs to have the fire to open its little seed pods in order to sprout those seeds. And I'll show you something else. Whoop. Goodness me. Now this area is a little bit sparse for little wattle trees, but there was a lot of them in here, and I use those to make my fence, right? Because I want to have a garden, and because unfortunately the animals are hungry, but so am I. And they want to eat my food, and, you know, I can't really blame them for that. But again, here's another nest. So when people say, oh, everything's doom and gloom, no, it's not doom and gloom. I've provided so many cases here. And look at this, little eucalypts coming up, right here. Little hot bush, right there. You know, there is so much abundance coming through. It's insane. I'm trying to find a couple little casuarinas too, because they're coming through in huge numbers as well. And you wouldn't get this without the fire. Now again, I was talking about the 840 homes that are burnt out. That sucks. That really sucks, right? My heart goes out to those people. Honestly, it does. But if you're looking for a quick solution, maybe think of building a teepee. You're going to have a lot of casuarinas still left in your forest. And all you'd have to do there, you start by leaning one casuarina up against another, just like this. And you just do them around in a teepee. There's a lot of videos on how to make teepees. You know? And then you can look up a gunya as well, G-U-N-Y-A. It's just, you're weaving the branches down in, and then you're weaving branches around, and then you're putting soil on top, and then you're putting grass sod clumps on top as well. And you've got this big thing that actually can be made fireproof, believe it or not. So we've even got clerodendron coming through. And yes, there will be a period of time when things will look weedy, when things will have, you know, a bit of thistle. But thistle's not a nasty plant. You can actually use the little white fluffy hairs to start fire in wet times, which is crazy. Like tinder. So there you go. Alright? And again, we have a tree that's fallen down here, and as a result, we have this huge space of abundance. We've got dusky coral pea growing in around here. We've got a wattle that's grown up. And yes, a lot of things will get eaten down by all the animals because the animals are hungry. And we've got mustard. And yes, it's not a native species, but it's still providing wood that's going to become the cellulose, that's going to break down to become the food for the mushroom mycelium network. This is regeneration. Eventually it'll get shaded out. And again, this huge patch of all this wattle. So there you go. That's the regeneration process. That's what happens after a fire. Yes, it can look a little weedy for a little bit. Such is life. Now there we go, there's my casuarinas. In all its glory. Beautiful little casuarina growing up. And again, heaps of Dianella. I've been harvesting the purple berries off this already. And there's even apple berries around here too, I was seeing a while back. Little Billardiera scandens. Right there. Right? So I think I've listed about 20 or more species that are coming back. See? Got the purple berries on it. So it's not doom and gloom. Yes, it can look that way. Yes, it sucks at the moment. But all the animals that are dying, that's just blood and bone. That's just nutrients. Usually they'll die from smoke inhalation before they actually get burnt in the fire. They'll pass out long before the fire even gets to them. And then a lot of possums tend to nest in trees that are too large and thick for humans to climb. So when they get to that point where they're thick like this one here, that's too big for me to climb. I can't wrap my arms around that. That's got enough hollow space inside that it'll have a thick wall that possum can be inside of and not get burnt. Some of them will be burnt. Some of them will. This is true. And that sucks. And because we are emotional creatures, that pulls at our heartstrings and that hurts. And that causes us pain because we love. But again, it's not all lost. There's a little bird climbing up this one. There he goes. See? It's not all lost. You will rebuild. You will. And you'll be amazed. It's just, what the point I'm making is, with all this doom and gloom and, oh, everything's going to shit, that's just going to weigh you down even more. That shit's just going to weigh you down even more, and then you won't get on with getting on with it. You know? As I said, there was, can't remember, the town up near Glen Innes or something, a little bit of a hippie village, but you guys out there, you're going to have yourself a whole lot of casuarinas in that forest and a whole lot of wattles that you can weave fences with, just like I've done here. That's all I've done. I used burnt out trees. I didn't chop anything down to make this whole fence. That is all just bits of leaf litter that were lying, not leaf litter, bits of, you know, casuarinas that were dead standing or dead fallen, and wattle trees that you give them a nudge and they just fell over. You know? And that's just the way it is. Right? But you can rebuild. You can use that to make the walls of your house if you need to. Use the clay like I've done for the cob oven. Right? Use clay like you do for a cob oven and you know, wattle and daub your house. Right? Simple as that. That bark roof on that cob oven, that came off of trees that had burnt out in the fire. That's what that all is. This is all made from stuff that came after a fire. Okay, so it's not the end of the world. Henny penny, the sky is not falling. All right, and even trees like this one here that were burnt to a crisp, it took them 2 years to shed their bark, but they have shed their bark and they're glowing again. So, you know, it's an unusually long video for me, but there's a lot of points I had to make here. But yeah, you know, just rebuild a teepee or something. If you need a shelter right there and then, and you don't have the ability to get things trucked in because you're like that little town where near Glen Innes where your main bridge into your town has burnt out completely. All right? That's just the way it is. You know, this stuff happens and it's fucking shit house, and it is what it is. But to dwell on the negatives is to just cause yourself more heartache and pain. I'm listing all these positives so you can get back into the mentality of positivity. You know, and you know, like I said, death happens. It's a hard part of life, but a part just the same. That's a quote from a song by the Pierce Brothers, by the way. If you don't know their music, I suggest you look it up. Death is a hard part of life, but a part just the same. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Do your best to recover from the fires and all that, and plant some seeds. Seriously. It's a good time for it. We're coming into a very safe time, actually. Here's another thing too. Because it's going to be the longest time before another big fire is going to rage up, isn't it? So, anyway. Yeah. Have a nice day.